Jules API is live. Let's go to settings, get a key, and we'll make our first app. We're going to make a Slack app. The app name is going to be Summon Jules, and let's associate it with a workspace. For local development, we're going to need socket mode on. It's a lot easier than setting it up for production. Now we can make our slash command. That's going to be the actual command we use in Slack. Let's say Summon Jules. Inside of permissions, we do need to add the ability to write to the chat. But now we can actually associate with our app. That's a lot of setup. It's okay if you had to pause. Let's get to actual coding. We'll npm init inside of a new directory. We're going to have to npm install bolt from Slack, Axios, and .env. The first file we're going to make is a .env. The Slack bot token, the app token, the Jules API key, and then the GitHub repo information. All right, index.js. Let's require .env up top. I'm going to pull an app from the bolt package, and then all of Axios. Const app is going to be a new app with the token, app token, and socket mode to true. All right, let's do app.command for Summon Jules. It's an async function. This is placeholder, we'll come back to this. And then we need a async immediately invoked function just to start the app. Okay, create Jules session. This is a new async function bringing in user message. We're going to have Jules API endpoint as a constant. The endpoint is v1 alpha sessions. Our payload here is important. Title, prompt, source context, which is an object that is the GitHub source, and then GitHub repo context, which is the starting branch. Okay, in our try block, we're going to have a constant response, which is going to await the Axios post function to Jules API endpoint with our payload. Let me set the headers to content type application JSON, the Jules API key. We need return response.data. Then in our catch block, we're going to catch the error and just have some very simple error handling. Now I need a sleep helper function. That's a new promise that will resolve after X number of milliseconds. Okay, get Jules session is going to be a new async function with a session name. This is how we're going to get the current status of our Jules session. So the const API endpoint here, v1 alpha, going to send session name as a parameter. Inside of our try block here, we have a constant response, again, awaiting an Axios HTTP GET to Jules API endpoint. We're setting the headers again to application JSON and xgoog API key, our Jules API key. I need to return a response.data and then a catch block. Let me do some basic error handling again and throw a new error. Okay, that's a lot of coding. We're almost done. Let's tie this all back together and go to app.command. We're going to await ACK, which is an acknowledgement that Slack needs just so it knows things aren't hanging. The user request from command.text, that's going to be the text that comes after the slash command. Let's have our first try block in here. We're going to post our initial message to the Slack client. So let's await for client.chat.postMessage with the channel and the text that just says I'm on it. And we're going to have a catch block as well, just so we can return out of that catch so we don't error out entirely. Now, from our initial message, we need both the channel ID and the timestamp. So const channel ID, const timestamp, we need those to make sure we update the message instead of continuing to post brand new messages to the Slack client. Let's have our next try block. To get the session data, we're going to await our create Jules session and pass the user request. Let's save that session data.name. We'll need it to get the status update for that same task later. Again, we're going to await client.chat.update, passing the channel and timestamp so we continuously update the client message. So we've successfully created a session in Jules and we can move on. We're going to have a while block here. So let is done is going to be a Boolean false. Now we have a while block, so while it's not is done, so while it's doing, we're going to be waiting for our sleep function 15 seconds. That's basically going to just pause execution. Once we've awaited, we can go get our first session update, const current session data. We are going to await the get Jules session. We've already written that code, passing a session name. And our current state is going to be current session.state or pending. We're going to write to the Slack client, so await client.chat.update, sending the channel and timestamp so we make the update instead of posting a new one, and then sending some text. I also need a catch block for error handling. We're going to post a failure message to the Slack client, and we need to await that. We're almost done. Let's write a final message. So we're checking against current state, for completed or failed. If you get a terminal message, we're going to set is done to true so we can exit out of that while block. I'm going to write a final message. If current state is equal to completed or finished, I'm going to use a ternary operator. Just a cool way to do a one-liner if. So we're finished or we failed. And let's await client.chat.update, passing again, channel, timestamp, and our final text. And believe it or not, that's all of our code. We can actually test this thing. I'm going to open up my terminal and run node index.js. We'll see our bot starts. Let's try our slash command. Slash summon Jules, update our documentation. You'll see our code sends the payload and Slack gets updated. We get the session ID back as we expect, and our polling starts. Let's head over to Jules to see our work. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Update all of our internal documentation. Jules has the task. We've built a Slack bot. Thank you for sticking with me, and we can't wait to see what you build with the Jules API.